What's up guys, Phantom here, back with episode 41 of my F1 2019 career mode, as we are going to Circuit of the Americas for the USA Grand Prix for round 19 of season 2.
We're expecting qualifying to start any minute here in Austin, Texas, where drivers will be hoping to top the timesheets today and be ready for tomorrow's US Grand Prix. Now then, Anthony Davidson, you're not getting any younger, but you have been involved in your fair share of qualifying sessions in an illustrious 30-year career. How do you deal with the pressure when you have that one chance to deliver a perfect lap?
It's not so much about dealing with the pressure, it's more about how you approach the risk and just how much of it are you willing to take. You're constantly balancing the car on the edge of grip from braking, cornering and traction, and over the course of a lap, it's easy to get that balance wrong, and that's why achieving the perfect lap is almost impossible. As you say, I've been doing this 30 years now, and it never gets any easier.
As we start out here in Q2, as we are going through the last sector here, and we are getting blinded by that sun as it is setting, as down that little straight there and down the back stretch, we will absolutely be blinded going into those braking zones as we go up to the turn 1 here, which is a big rise up as you try to hit the apex as late as possible to get yourself as straight as a run through the S's as we come through the final sector here and try to not go too far wide, as we go a little bit wide on the last corner there as we're going to come across the line to finish P6 and Q2 as our teammate Butler is in P7 as we move on to Q3. As we move on to Q3 here, as we cut the penultimate corner a little bit as we come into the final corner here, trying to set ourselves up for a good run down the front stretch here as we come to probably it's the most unique corner on the calendar. The closest to it would be turn 3 of India, which is no longer on the calendar, as we obliterate the penultimate corner again as we go once again. Like Q2, we have missed the apex of that last corner, and we will come across the line to be P9 only as our teammate Butler is in P6 as Giovinazzi has managed to put himself in P5, probably the best qualifying of his career, as we will move on to the race.
What fantastic enthusiasm we have for Formula One here in the United States of America. And it's an enthusiasm born from generations of memorable Grand Prix racing. Bruce McLaren took his maiden victory at Sebring way back in 1959, and John Watson's 1983 victory at Long Beach, well, that still holds the record for the lowest ever starting position for a race winner. It's the Circuit of the Americas then, situated 14 miles outside the great city of Austin. This is a 3.6 mile lap with 20 corners, 10 each to the left and to the right, and top speeds of around 200 miles per hour. Overtaking opportunities are available into turns 1 and 12, especially with that rear wing DRS wide open. Anthony Davidson joins me again for the race today. So let's briefly discuss Nico Hülkenberg. They've had to change their gearbox. It's never a good start to a Grand Prix when right off the bat you have to contend with a grid penalty.
Well, at the end of the day, it's always better to take some pain now than parking it up halfway through the Grand Prix. Let's just hope they can put that new gearbox to good use and get the results they're looking for.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Vettel, Leclerc, Devon Butler and Sainz, Weber and a Haas, Raikkonen and Valtteri Bottas, Russell, Perez, Kevin Magnussen and Giovinazzi. They've taken a grid penalty. Albon, Stroll, Daniel Kvyat and Daniel Ricciardo. Hülkenberg and Lando Norris starts from the back of the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
As we sit here on the grid in P8 after Giovinazzi's best qualifying performance of his career, he gets a 10-place grid penalty. So we are off in P8 as we get a pretty average start there, as we are trying to follow Sainz in the slipstream there a little bit, as we're going to dive way up the inside as Sainz is going to squeeze us on the apex here. As we try to turn into the corner, we kind of get caught by Sainz and almost spins, as there are yellow flags as further back in the grid here, as Albon gets kind of cut down on by Perez as he goes spinning, and he will come out to be dead last as we are attacking our teammate Butler through the S's, as right now everybody has DRS and we cannot get past anybody.
Okay, the DRS is stuck open. You'll have to come in so we can try and attempt to fix. Pit in for repairs.
As one of the worst case scenarios, we have our DRS is stuck open, and that means we are going to be really loose, as we're going to have to come in and get it fixed, and we have to pit a lap or two early. Thank goodness it's at least lap 5, but we are sliding through every corner as we have to be very cautious through this long right-hander here, as Weber, who's been catching this group, is right on us, as we're going to have to go in and make a pretty mature pit stop here as we come through and make sure not to get a penalty, which would only put salt on our wounds right now, as we have to come in, as we lost about a second and a half there to the team, to the group ahead of us, as everybody's going to come through except for Albon, who got spun there earlier. So as we're going to come out, and we will not even be ahead of him, he will be barely ahead of us, but so we'll have to pass him on the back stretch here, as we just don't have any. I guess we have too much wing on for the S's. We don't have enough for the backstretch here, as we're going to dive down the inside of Albon as he looks about to come back on us around the outside. We're going to go deep there, as the Williams is absolutely giving us fits, while at the same time here, actually a little bit earlier, Butler and Verstappen have come together in the long right-hander, and he will drop down, and he lost probably 5 seconds, something like 5-6 seconds, as we come through onto the pit straight to reclaim a lot of our positions, as Weber has managed to jump us in the pits there as he comes out right behind Butler, as again they are kind of in a train formation, and we just can't get DRS on them, as the rest of the field basically pits, as we will have DRS, and this is probably the closest we've been, and as you can see, we're just getting pulled a little bit there, as we were pretty much desperately go for a dive bomb here, as we kind of pull up at the last second, realize we're not going to even make it. But right after the long straight here into this Mickey Mouse section, as we are getting a little bit desperate, as we're going to dive it down the inside of him and actually get a little bit too good of a run and hit our teammate Butler, and then we get kind of like body slammed by Weber there, as we are once again behind them, as they're going to stack up at this I don't know, hairpin 90 degree, I don't know what you call that corner exactly, but Vettel has been put on hard tires and holding this whole group up, as Butler has been able to get past him as we go down the inside of Weber, and he kind of turns into us constantly, and then he body slams us again, and then he kind of just breaks on the corner and he kind of hits us again, as this I'm starting to get a little bit wind up, and so I kind of just went for a hopeless dive bomb there, but I was getting a little bit frustrated with Weber kind of just swinging his car into me constantly, as he is going side by side with Vettel, who for some reason Ferrari pit strategy has put him on hard tires except for mediums, as I accidentally squeeze him as we kind of go around the outside to kind of illegally overtake him, but he's on hard tires and we're trying to catch Weber, as Russell has been out of this race with an engine failure there on the second to last lap of the race, as he was going through the S's there. But Weber is our main target, as we have been trying to catch up to him the entire time of the second sector, and either cars have been ahead of us or he's had DRS in front of somebody, but he is all alone now, as we're going to go down the inside of him, as we are going to try to catch up to Butler there, who's just ahead of us by about 2 seconds, but Weber would not let us go without a fight, as down the front stretch here, we're going to try to break his DRS as he's going to look around the outside of us as we're going to break, kind of force him out wide as we kind of broke a little bit too much as he gets the crossover on us, but then kind of just drives behind us. But we will run out of time as we only needed another lap or two as Hamilton has won the race, but we could have had a podium of Butler, but we will settle for 4th.
Good job, you did really well. Super driving.
That's it for another Grand Prix and a fantastic win for Mercedes. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot, a well-earned victory for Mercedes. And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. It wasn't the best weekend for our championship leader, and their advantage at the top has been reduced. Some amazing talents out on the track today, but Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
It's got to be Lando Norris, hasn't it? Smooth, confident and assured. I've got no doubt that he and his team are going to be over the moon with his performance today.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. Mercedes continue to extend their lead. Well, Ant, an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.